hi and welcome everybody. It's really great to have this group of winners from the Activating Empathy competition assembled. As you all know, it was a tremendous success for us, as we were really excited to see the depth and breadth of innovations that came through the competition. The three winners that are represented here sort of represent a really wide range. It's a pretty diverse group in terms of the types of programming that you're doing. But you all had really strong, you brought really strong things to the table, and we really are excited about all of the different ways that you're bringing empathy into the education system. So welcome, and it's great to meet you all. My name is Lauren Parnell-Marino, and I'm a community manager at Changemakers. And I'm joined by a room full of other people throughout Ashoka and Changemakers who we can have introduce themselves in a minute. But first, I wanted to introduce Ari Cohen, who is going to be facilitating the majority of this call. Ari is somebody that has come to us recently, and he's been involved as the director of the International Institute for Compassionate Cities, which is a project that has more than 70 candidate compassionate cities involved. And he's a fellow for that project as well. So he's certainly in line with the work of empathy and has been doing it as a part of his career for a long time. So welcome, Ari, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And then if we could just go along and have everybody on the call just give a quick introduction. Maybe it would be great to hear your name, of course, a little bit about your organization, and anything else that you want to add. We obviously want to keep it somewhat quick since we don't have a lot of time for discussion, but feel free to add in what you think is relevant for the conversation.
Well, my name's Nicholas Carlisle, and I'm here in San Francisco. I'm the Executive Director of No Bully. And our mission is to end bullying and harassment and violence in schools.
Okay, I'm happy to jump in next. I'm Lennon. And I am with the empathy team at Ashoka, so I'm based in Los Angeles, and I think my title would probably be best described as ball handler of lots of different juggling balls and moving pieces to the empathy initiative, but working specifically with our fellows as we identify what does it mean to be an empathy innovator, what are the different principles and practices required to develop this set of skills and to grow a culture and sustain that through systems and through professional development and metrics and evaluation and so on and so forth, and how do we take those principles and practices and spread them widely. So it's so wonderful and to be connected with you all and to grow kind of our community of innovators that we're familiar with, and really increase the size and scale of our toolkit as we look at the best of what's out there. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you. I'll go next. My name is Mark Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of Changing Worlds. We're an educational arts nonprofit based in Chicago. And we implement programs that really uses the power of story and the arts to help build empathy, build connections across cultures, promote nonviolence, and build in more inclusive learning communities in schools across the city and surrounding suburbs.
My name is Reem. My family's out in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm very excited to see the entry based out of Chicago. I'm sitting here in the DC office though, and it's been very exciting to be project managing the entire competition, from figuring out what do you title it in a way that doesn't get too lingo-centric, all the way to now getting to sit with you all and hear more about your work.
And I'm Laura Zacks. Nice to meet you all. I am managing kind of a new campaign website we have called startempathy.org that I encourage you to check out. And the profiles that Changemakers will be writing about you all will be cross-posted there. And we're just trying to build kind of an online hub for parents, and that's more accessible to parents and teachers and educators and even students themselves to get really jazzed about empathy education.
One more.
Hi, people. My name is Vipin. Congratulations, and it's really awesome to meet all of you. And here's a very interesting fact of Ashoka. Ashoka in Sanskrit means the active absence of sorrow, and it's one of my favorite things about Ashoka, so I thought I'll just share that. Anyway, welcome.
It's lovely to meet all of you. I've been with the Changemakers team for about 3 years now, and congratulations to the the Activating Empathy winners. We're so excited to be sitting here with you today. I actually became involved with this initiative just towards the tail end. We have a publishing partner, they have their own focus on change agents and parenting and home forums, but they were very eager to allow their audience with our audience. But I'm feeling very thankful to be sitting here in the middle of the conversation.
Really? Yeah, we're just doing introductions. Oh, thank you. Come sit. Thanks, Sarah. And we just got joined.
Hello.
Do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself?
Sure. I am Dina from Mexico, and I am running an educational program called Deportes para Compartir, or Sports for Sharing. And what we do is sports for development, and that's the way we activate empathy among other set of values, so they come live.
Great, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
I'm Lauren.
Sorry for the delay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. See.
So I will kick it over then to Ari for the questions from here on out.
Great. We've been, actually they mentioned 2 questions that are very germane to your awards, and congratulations to all of you. It's really quite an achievement. And I'll start with the first one. The question is, what is the emerging field of empathy in education? Where is it headed? And then you can address that, and also address how do you get there? What is needed to get to that place? So let's open it up for comments.
So I'll start. I think that the field is really with the awareness that bullying has had recently, the awareness around some of the anti-hate type of activities that's happened in schools, or in some regards, not very culturally sensitive. I think that that's created a new window of opportunity to really heighten empathy and empathetic innovation in this space in education. I think it doesn't get as much play or airtime as we would like amidst test scores and all of the other things. But I do think that there is being more recognized, especially with all the work that's happening nationally around bullying and all of the attention that that's been getting, that this is a great opportunity to kind of bring those things together to drive forward a dialogue on a national and local level around empathy and what that means, and not just around kind of being able to kind of stand in another person's shoes, but also to be able to look at ways in which we can use our own stories, our own experiences as ways to draw empathy. And I think, the movement in the past few years around service learning initiatives, there was a little bit of that happening in that space about learning about others, but that then got transitioned into, career development and technical development. But I think that there's a synergy happening with a number of different things that are operating on parallel tracks that can help drive it forward in education.
Right. Who else? Who's got a comment on this?
I'll make a comment here. On the surface, if you ask any school, they will say that it's wonderful to teach kids empathy, just like they say it's wonderful to teach them about democracy. And on the surface, they'll all say that. But there is a huge split in education between the schools that really believe in showing empathy to their students and helping them grow, and the schools that just want to punish the hell out of kids because they believe that really deep down that's the only way you can deal with kids who are violent or even prejudiced. So there's a profound split that we have to overcome, and I think the biggest challenge is reassuring educators that if they actually show empathy to students and they show understanding to students, it's not condoning the behaviors that they're trying to turn around. And most educators need a lot of convincing and fear that they're letting go of control if they show basic kindness and understanding to their students.
That's really an excellent point. You might even see it in terms of empathy bypass, that we will get the window dressing but you actually
Yes.
want us to do it ourselves. And I think having that kind of realistic look at what you as change makers face is really, really important. Who else?
Well, I would like to share my point of view. I agree with my colleagues. Thank you for your amazing comments. I agree, and I would say in Mexico, for example, every time more children spend more time with their teachers than with their parents. In order to have empathy in life, we need to involve everyone. It needs to be a plural understanding of empathy and actually putting it in practice. But our main focus is to actually work with the teachers, and we have found that teachers are very surprised to realize that they are not actually activating empathy before, and there's a before and after, and it makes them feel really happy when they're actually activating empathy. So it's also something that they can enthusiastically translate to their children every day in class, in any class. No, it's not like a separate subject or it's like a transversal platform from where everything stems. It's like the roots in the ground. That's where I see it's headed. No, to work really close with teachers in a way that they enjoy learning about empathy and putting it in practice.
That's really another great point, is the difference between having empathy as a duty, as a technique, versus the fact that it's really cool to have it. Your life gets richer, it gets meaning and value. I think that's an important point. That's an important point. Who else?
Just to quickly link back into that point, a lot of the teachers we work with think that they don't have the time for empathy, that somehow it's going to use up valuable teaching time, and they don't realize it's a way of being, and it can be demonstrated in just a 15-second comment to a student.
That's right. They don't have time for empathy. Is in that singular sentence is quite a bit of eloquence.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look at the other part of the question is, what do you think it's going to take to flip this, to get people into seeing the grace and beauty and wonder of empathy and start applying it? What does that take?
Well, I think there are two things will shift it. First off is for schools to see other schools that are happily functioning with a more empathic and less punitive approach to their students.
Yeah.
And so that they're reassured that all hell is not going to break loose if they show empathy. And secondly, if teachers are given the experience of trying out empathy themselves and realizing that it's not such a far departure from how they are already, and that actually, if they have that experience and they realize that as we were saying just now, it actually feels good. Dopamine is released if you are altruistic to other people. They get that feel-good experience. They'll want to keep it going.
Right. So I think what you're saying is that we're not going to see a headline that says there's been an outbreak of empathy, first responders are on their way, great disaster, or anything else. An outbreak would actually be rather lovely, I think. So very good. Anybody else about what it's going to take?
I would build on that and kind of agree with my colleague, but also add that some of the work we try to do here is try our work to actually real outcomes that happen in the classroom. I think everyone on the call knows that environments that are inclusive, environments where kids feel welcomed and valued and respected contributes to learning. And we just did a 3-year study that highlighted that kids in our programs outscore other kids on test scores, on all academic measures. So we have to hit them also where we can't just kind of shoot our horn about empathy, but we also have to say not only is it important, is it a wonderful life skill to have for what's going to be a global economy of tomorrow, what's already a global economy today, actually, to also say here's the actual impact it's having in classrooms on students' academics, on the ways they interact with one another, on the ways they interact with the larger world, and how that improves their actual learning and the outcomes that come from this. And I can guarantee you that a classroom that has that type of environment versus a classroom that doesn't, it's gonna, it's not just about the standard, strategies that you use in the classroom. It's about the community. The community gets built among the students, among the classroom teachers and the students, and the way they feel in that room. And I think so. Showing data to show that it's really driving impacts, not only in what people might define as touch and feely in such a data-driven area, but that it's also driving impacts in student learning in the ways they feel about themselves, and being able to measure some outcomes for them to be able to see. Not only is it important, not only is it the right thing to do, but it's also driving improvements in academics and student learning.
I think, outcomes are critical, but what's interesting too, Mark, is what you do with storytelling. Our work at Compassion Action Network International is we see movement when people get the story. And that's what you guys are trafficking in, and I think that's a very essential part of this. Really excellent. Let's go on, because of the time, to the second question. Ashoka wants to build a movement that shifts paradigms. I mean, that's what they're working on. For example, in a culture that relies on punishment to shape behavior, this punitive approach, the introduction of empathy as a prevention tool is pretty revolutionary and probably much more effective. How can we continue to shift that paradigm even further? We're seeing all this economic stuff going on. The Economist just reported that the family net worth in the United States since 2008 has dropped 39% over the family net worth. So how do we continue to shift that paradigm and keep it moving? I hear gears turning.
Well, I think you're well placed to be very vocal that empathy is not a side issue, that empathy actually is at the heart of community and of nations succeeding in living together. And unless we have empathy, actually the whole structure starts to fall apart. So it's not a separate issue or something that's kind of underneath the economic well-being of nation states. So the nation states depend upon these social structures of empathy and trust and cooperation. So if you can make that case, and you're well placed to make that case, then I think people take it more seriously than just seeing it as a side issue.
Yeah, Nicholas, that's really good. I think that's the scope we need to look at is how that manifests worldwide. Who else?
So it's a theoretical approach, like in sense of argument that you give on why would it be helpful or significant for economy to have empathy. But I think it's also like that would be the pathway to convince, for example, a school system to train teachers and work with them in a different way. But there's also the need to have a very practical approach to actually make it happen, because you can spend as long as you want talking about what's the theory behind empathy, but I think it's much more than a theory. It's very practical actually, and it's about teaching with the example, and also having teachers truly enjoy the sense of empathy and making it real. It's a virtuous cycle that starts happening. You understand empathy because you've lived empathy, and then you can transmit it and go around again. No, so I think also children that receive this insight from their teachers and this motivation can also translate this wherever they're at. Is it their homes or with their neighbors or wherever? So I think it's very important to have the argument and then the actual how to. No, the hows are always very crucial.
Yeah, that's good. I think there is a theory trap. I'm a theorist. That's my work. And if you not familiar with the term, theorist comes from the ancient Greek word meaning unemployable. And, but you can avoid actually being empathetic by trafficking in the theory. And the second one I see is getting into this sort of kumbaya, this is all feel good stuff, instead of the hard questions like Nicholas raised. So yeah, I think it's gotta get its feet on the ground and move that way. I think you're exactly right. Any other comments about that?
I would just say that I think it's in our best interest to also look at some of the other discipline-specific movements, like the arts movement or other movements that have been working over the years to get a foothold into what happens in education in a more meaningful way. The STEM movement. What are some of the learnings we can take from some of those movements? The old character education movement that's kind of died. Like, what are some of the things we can learn from those movements? How did they get some footing, not only from the work that each of us are doing in our communities, but on a national or global scale? And what are the lessons we can take from those strategies and apply them to activating empathy? And who are the other players that should be in the room? What other fields that people are working in that should be in this space with us?
I think that's a great idea. That's really an efficient approach, because you're not having to reinvent things. You can learn from the successes of people and the failures as well about how to go about this. Bring it to the world. One of the things that I've noticed in our work with compassion, with empathy is a central element of compassion, is, and I'm curious to get your take on this, is there seems to be a hunger for this, a frustration with the fear and the dissonance and the separation, and a hunger for this. People had asked us at CAN International, we have 8 confirmed cities, and we're about to get our 9th, and which will be Houston if everything goes well. And we have over 80 candidate cities worldwide, and they asked us, what's your marketing program? And we told them our marketing program is we answer the emails. We've never solicited anybody except the people in our own city, Seattle. And this speaks to the desire for compassion, for empathy, to see those things come about. What's been your experience with that?
Well, I think you're exactly on the money there. UNICEF did a big study in 2005 of adolescents across the industrialized world, and they found that the least kind and the least helpful kids are in my country, the United Kingdom, and also in the United States. So there's demonstrable evidence out there that we have a huge empathy crisis in our adolescents. So I think the hunger is driven by the realization this generation has huge deficits in empathy. Unless we do something about it, our society is going to fracture. We're at a crisis point.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think it takes also. You kicked up. I mean, I was talking about how the United States, it really is a number 1 country. It's the number 1 for incarcerating individuals in the world. Yes. This country doesn't mess around. But I think I found myself when people, and it started as a joke, but when people now ask me how many children I have, I always now respond, well, I don't know, how many are there? That's the stance that I take. What about the rest of you? What about other comments about this what we refer to as the tsunami coming at us, about people having had enough of the discord and the despair and the fear and are looking for a way home?
Yes, actually, what's very motivating for my team and me is that wherever we go, we find that people are very thirsty to get involved and to do something related to feeling useful in society. No, and I think that has a lot to do with empathy, because you're surrounded by so many different stories and so many different problems and challenges, and suddenly when you have the opportunity to feel that there's actually a change maker in every one of us, that's also, I think it's a very important facet of empathy, not to realize that the other person needs something and that you can work together and collaborate to make that person or that community give a better opportunity and a better life. So that happens with all ages. And for example, a 10-year-old girl last semester told us that this is the first time in her life she feels useful. No, imagine that. So if you realize that you can be useful from a very young age, I think that's like we have a theory, knowing that you like theories, we have a theory that whenever someone feels useful, you can't stop doing that, looking for feeling useful. And I think that has everything to do with empathy.
I think so too. When you were speaking, you remind me of a quote from the great American poet Longfellow, who said, "If we were to know the secret history of our so-called enemies, we should find sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility." And if we really knew people, I think that would be true. Well, we've got about 1 minute left. Any more? I will probably need to turn it back to my friends at Ashoka, but any parting words before we wrap this up?
Just thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to meet everyone.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you. Congratulations to everyone. Keep it up.
Yeah, and for me too. I think one of the things about this work is beyond the awards, beyond all that other stuff, is the privilege of working with people like you. So when I get in my dark moments and I say to myself, "Dear God, this is a mess. I don't know what I'm going to do." I just bring to mind the people that are working on this, and I get back into the fray. So that's it. So I'll, if Lauren, if you're still there, I'll turn it back to you if you need to wrap anything up.
Yeah, I'm still here, and all I have to say is the same thing as you've all just said. It's been a pleasure to finally put some faces to names and to get to hear some words of wisdom, and we look forward to continuing to be in touch, and congratulations from us again. So thanks for making the time today.